guys, Ron here, and some Pokemon are more popular than others. I feel like I've used that sentence in at least 3 video intros, but it's true. There are a lot of Pokemon who I thought would be super popular but aren't, and that's what this video is about. I'm gonna list all the Pokemon whose popularity isn't on the level I wish it was, but I'm excluding Pokemon who are outright unpopular. This video is reserved for Pokemon who I thought would be popular, but are simply average to slightly above average in the hearts of fans, much to my dismay. So no Pokemon like Luvdisc, cause while I wish it was more popular, a lot of people hate it, and I understand why. No Pokemon who are already popular either, so while I wish Pokemon like Sceptile, Wooper, Scyther, and others were even more popular, they're pretty beloved already. Let's begin with Skarmory. Are we just gonna act like a human-sized metal bird isn't an extremely cool concept? And I'm not an expert in competitive battling, but any trainer with Wi-Fi access can see how this Pokemon is useful as Shinx in battling. So why do I not hear anybody talk about this Pokemon at the local saloon? If it's good for Steven, it should be good for all of y'all. Do you think you're better than Steven? Never. Steven Stone is a perfect specimen. God, do I remember my first encounter with this armor bird in Route 113. It's so underappreciated that some people didn't even know that this Pokemon existed back in Generation 2, and actually first noticed this monster from across the classroom in Generation 3. Shiftry. This wicked forest creature, to me, is such a natural looking Pokemon. Just from its design, you can understand that it lives to protect the forest. It's an example of a Pokemon with a perfect representation of its origin being the Tengu, and I find it interesting how it's Ludicolo's counterpart, while also having the completely opposite demeanor. But Ludicolo is way more popular for its jolliness, while Shiftry isn't noticed as much since it likes its privacy. I just would have expected more followers considering how solid its design and personality are. It's very easy to understand what this Pokemon is all about, so you'd think it would have more followers who tend to gravitate towards aloof dark types like Absol and Darkrai, all 3 of which have white hair. Huh, interesting. Slacking. It's literally the strongest non-legendary Pokemon. Its stats are on par with Groudon and Kyogre. Of course, this ability was made so this Pokemon wouldn't be overpowered, but even if it rests every other turn, it usually only takes 1 turn for this Pokemon to demolish the competition. Believe me, I've used this Pokemon in my playthrough of Alpha Sapphire. I would just assume that regardless of it having the worst ability in the game, it would come up more during conversations about outstanding Pokemon. Not Pokemon that I would say are particularly great in competitive battling, but simply Pokemon that are extraordinary and epic. Zangoose. This is my favorite normal type Pokemon, so I'm biased, but now you understand why I ask, why isn't it the most popular pure normal type Pokemon? It's certainly one of the coolest. It could easily pass for a fighting or dark type, not to mention its lore is super interesting. I love how its feud with Seviper has manifested in shared scars. It deserves some praise for being an abnormal normal type. It's just such a contrasting Pokemon, kinda like how Absol is a dark type, but not at the same time. So again, if that Pokemon is popular, I would assume Zangoose would be too. Walrein. I mean, I understand why this Pokemon is never used in competitive battling, but having a thick water-ice type on your party is so rewarding during the main game. But my main point would be, how the hell is this badass ice walrus with beautiful golden eyes not more popular? I can't think of any other way to design a walrus Pokemon. It's perfect for what it is. Electivire. I've noticed how people are split about the fact that Sinnoh introduced so many evolved forms of past Pokemon. Half of them are super beloved, while the other half is hated with a passion. The one Pokemon I see to be on both sides is Electivire. I get the disdain for some of these Pokemon, but I don't understand why Electivire isn't always on the good list. It's super intimidating. It's a scary Pokemon whose power is physically represented. I see no negativity in its design that isn't already shared with Electabuzz, so why isn't this Pokemon a bit more popular than it already is? Samurott. I love Samurott. I'm fine with Serperior being more popular, but it aches me to see Samurott as an example of a bad starter Pokemon. I get not understanding the progression of its evolution from Oshawott, but on its own, it's a super rad Pokemon. Shell swords and helmets, whisker facial hair, this Pokemon is magnificent. So why is it still such a controversial starter Pokemon final evolution? Musharna. I just like this cute take on the Baku, not to mention its Dream Mist. I would have thought this Pokemon would have been more popular among the fans who love pretty Pokemon, but I guess it isn't pretty enough for you. I would not mind this thing next to me as I sleep. I would prefer it to be asleep too, cause not a big fan of its awake state. Good thing I got this perpetually asleep plush on my nightstand. Zebstrika. It looks amazing. Sure, it's fast and strong, and I get how people may not be huge fans of an electric-type physical attacker, but goddamn, is this thing a dazzling beast. It looks like it would pull the chariot of Thor. It actually looks like a thunder god itself. It's so pure, black and white with bright blue and yellow accents. Nothing conveys raw electrical power like Zebstrika. Sawsbuck. I'll just repeat what I said recently. I think Sawsbuck is one of the most underrated Pokemon out there, and I simply don't understand why it's not more popular. It has the most amusing gimmick, which gives it such a natural looking design. I'm surprised that it took Game Freak 5 generations to create this handsome creature. This idea to have flora on a deer's antler is so intuitive. That basically means that this design is so logical, and they nailed it in every aspect. We can argue all day about its stats and battle prowess, but I see no flaw in this Pokemon's appearance. Tympole. Like all the other Pokemon, I honestly don't understand why Tympole isn't more popular than it is. It's incredibly cute with a very unique Tadpole design. These headphones are stylish as hell, and those eyebrows actually resemble musical notes. Its headphone-like tympanum warts are also very unique. I don't get how people think this is a Poliwag ripoff when its concept and body type is entirely different. I don't need you to like it, but why is it never brought up when we talk about cute Pokemon? Leavanny. There has to be a reason that an actually strong early bug type isn't the center of attention. There's nothing controversial about its design, it has perfect manners and loves all. Not loving this thing is like not loving your mother. Is it the anime? Is it the voice in the anime? If it's not, then I don't know what to tell you. Leavanny is like a Beautifly, but you can take it to the Elite Four, and it would do stupendously well. Think about it. Call me tomorrow. Scolipede. Not to mention this Pokemon is great as well. 2 early bug types that you can actually use throughout your entire journey. And this one looks monstrous. It's also exceptionally fast and strong in Generation 7. I guess it's harder to convince anybody of a bug type's worth because sometimes you simply don't like the bug because it looks like a bug. And I get it, but as a man with a phobia of centipedes, I gotta tell ya, I still love me some Scolipede. That's a spicy centipede. Galvantula. Speaking of phobias, if a man with an extreme arachnophobia like me can tell you that this Pokemon is super appealing, I would assume that Galvantula would be high up there on everybody's list. Again, convincing a person to like a spider would be the single most difficult thing to do. But then again, a fear of spiders usually has to do with the abundance of legs, but this thing only has 6 legs, so all that is left to persuade you is that that sick blue and yellow color scheme is amazing. But in the end, it's one of the few Pokemon on this list that I kind of understand why it will never be popular. Lilligant. But I am surprised at how this beautiful creature isn't at the top. I mean, creature isn't that pretty of a word. Let's call this a beautiful being. I would have guessed that this Pokemon would be super popular online, what with all the, Gardevoir fanatics, but it's not. I mean, come on! She's as pretty as Blossom and as feminine as Tsarina, without looking like it wants to destroy you. She just has the right amount of everything. Crustle! I'm not surprised that it's not considered a popular Pokemon. I'm surprised that it's close to unpopular. People think it has a bad design, and I can't see the justification. It's a hermit crab, but with an entire piece of the earth on its back. That's biblical right there. This thing is like a mythological creature. It's both epic and comedic. I don't see what's badly designed about it. Escavalier and Excelgor. By now it's pretty safe to say that Unova is home to the greatest array of bug types, and they're all super creative and not even close to generic. The entire concept of one Pokemon stealing the shell of another and then both of them evolving into badass bugs is both original and outrageous. This one's an unbeatable knight, and this one is a swift ninja. I mean, you gotta understand how I don't see why these two aren't way more popular than they already are. I'm not asking you to like them, I'm asking you to tell me why these two aren't at the top of everybody's list, and that reason can't be how slow this one is and how frail this one is, cause their other stats compensate for that in spades. It would be pretty shameful if the reason Pokemon with cool concepts and designs weren't popular because of their slight disadvantages in battle. Haxorus. People practically think this thing is a pseudo-legendary because of how cool it is. I swear that if it was a pseudo-legendary alongside Hydreigon, that it would totally be 2 times more popular. And here's the thing, this Pokemon should be more popular for not being a pseudo-legendary, cause it looks like one and it's almost as strong. Other Pokemon that are mistaken for pseudo-legendaries like Lucario are crazy popular, so why isn't Haxorus? It's popular, but I'm looking for crazy popular. Malamar. Is this my favorite Generation 6 Pokemon? I think it is. That's why I'm not shouting, because the fact that this is my favorite Generation 6 Pokemon should be enough to convey how much I love this Pokemon. But I also get why you may not love it, because it's super creepy. I'm not asking for a creepy Pokemon to be popular, I'm just asking for acknowledgement for how well executed its creepiness is. This Pokemon, whom I wish to hug, is supposed to be manipulative and straight up evil. It's based on a cuttlefish and vampire squid after all. This is more of a vampire squid than the actual animal, so please, try to tell me this isn't a fantastic Pokemon. And I didn't even touch how awesome Contrary is. Avalugg. This is the only unpopular Pokemon on the list, because of how much I like it compared to the community's widespread opinion. What's cool is that I formed my opinion on this Pokemon before I heard what others thought of it. I saw it just as the Pokemon of X and Y were leaked, and thought it was breathtaking. The thought of an iceberg aircraft carrier is terrifying, so it's pretty obvious that it would make for an awe-inspiring monster. A pocket monster. Aside for its understandably low speed, why do people think it's a flawed design? Let me be more specific. Why would you think that a flat back is a design flaw? It's literally the whole concept. I'm done. Let's move on to the last Pokemon. Passimian. It's a primate that plays sports, and it looks like one too. You know what other primate plays sports? Humans. Humans are pretty popular, so why isn't Passimian? I mean, it's not hated, but I remember the first time I saw it, I thought it was a fun concept and super solid design. I can't think of a flaw in how it looks. It's not too intimidating, and it's cuter than real lemurs, yet it looks like it's ready for battle. So what's up? The entire video is just me asking for one big explanation, and the only true answer I can provide is that subscribing to TrueGreen7 would be a pretty good move if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like too. A super important thing to do is to check out the description for the links to the music I used, the t-shirts I made, my Twitter account, which you need to follow, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards for helping me out. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!